Once again, good morning, the third group, headed by Miss Alagaw. Uh, your, your research is quite different from the two researches. It's a qualitative type, right? And I went through your theory generation, and this could be, of course, your output. There would be a tangible output for this because you are only not only you are determining or knowing the experiences of those depressed students, so better na ning inyong theory as an output. Now I am so amazed with such output, such result, because you have managed well on how are you going to get a substantial data from the respondents, 6 respondents. So medyo, di ba, daghang mga ni mga bawal, mga parameters, kumbaga, kung interview. When I went through the diagram, because you are generating theory, and that's quite crucial kay sa amo gani nga dissertation sa doctoral level, theory generation naman jud. Pero kamo nag-practice na mo ana. And that's you are right when you say the theory that you have generated comes from the propositions that you have presented to us. There are 3 propositions. But when I look at the schematic diagram, it's interactive kumbaga, but then you are showing to us kasi the theory. So try to have that theory that would have somehow sa diagram pa lamang masabta na. Now, basing on the propositions, the first proposition talks about the emotion should not be overlooked. So kumbaga, namoy acceptance. Acceptance that you are depressed. Kumbaga, pagkahuman is recovering. And then pagkahuman is support. Now, kadto si nga tulo ka propositions, maura to inyong i-project sana. The simpler the schematic diagram, the better interpretation, I guess. And then the theory itself, it's a statement, right? Though it's a theory, needs to be validated. Di pa yung nag-true to all. Kaya di ba na matawag ang theory kung tinuod na gadyod. It would be assumption. So sa math pa, we call that as axiom or postulate. Kung theory, subject for validation pa na. I do suggest that instead of images nga inyong ibutang as a schematic diagram, it would be a simple framework that would have the term acceptance, support, then recover, which is very simple to discuss. Kay lengthy ra ang inyo nga theory. Nagbasa ko asa madapit ni theory, kay excited mi kay theory generation man. So in my end, it's not really questioning the output, but rather a suggestion that you'll have to revisit your diagram, make it more simpler so that it would be catchy on the reader. Thank you.
Okay, good morning once again. Looking at your paper, it's good, but then there are certain points that I would like to somehow correct, no? Kay murag naay mga sa parts sa inyong write-ups or parts sa inyong manuscript, murag naamoy mga nakalimtan nga dili dapat buhaton, no? So, I mean, dapat i-avoid ba ninyo? Like using first person pronoun. In any technical paper, it should be avoided unless it is kanang verbatim citation. No? So, dili mo promise magamit og mga you, we, I, unless, again, based on verbatim quotations, like sa kaning inyong pag-cite sa mga answers sa respondents, pwede na dya. But when you explain your rationale, you are not supposed to use we, you, I, or first person pronouns. No? And then, regarding the results, so murag di ta maka-question kay mauman dyan is the qualitative man, and then substantial man pod ang inyong data, ingon pa saturated ganing mo ganing gamay ra ang inyong respondents nga gikuha, di ba? And then with regards to kanang sakto ba jud ang inyong respondents na stated man po ninyo dire sa inyong kuan nga diagnose jud sila, so di ta maka-question ni ana, no? Ang ako lamang i-suggest is for your theory, shorten your theory into 3 to 5 sentences only because you already have a substantial discussion of your propositions. So di ba kung theory kay murag one main idea lamang ganing jud. So 3 to 5 sentences will do because as I said your propositions already would give the will be enough, will substantially explain naman nga nung nakakam up mo adto nga theory. And then I think it would be unfair also if you will only call it alagaw because the effort I think is a group effort. So I think you will rename your theory and I would suggest that it would just be support system theory para kanang dili kaadyo koan personal, no, or ingon pa diri ni Doc Beverly pwede po kunog depression support system theory. Okay, because as I said, I believe that this is a group effort, so to give due credit also to the rest of the members of the group, you will have your theory named in generic siguro. Okay, that would be all and congratulations for coming up with a very good study.
Okay, congratulations guys for having this one. No, Kai, I can still recall when I was a senior high school teacher, in practical research 2, this is quantitative, and then this ang practical research 1 siguro to ang qualitative, sakto ba? Okay, and then you have pursued this one. No, okay, allow pod mo sa inyong advisor as kay naman tayo mga certain limitations or certain timelines in order for the students to be adapted on the 2 types of researches. So, in fact, sa 5 ka studies na napayduha about to be presented, kini ang unique kay it is qualitative in nature. Now, we have the term phenomenology or the phenomenon. Now, may I ask of what is the phenomenon that is in your study?
The experiences of the depressed students.
Okay, we have the experiences of the depressed students, as I say, during the time of Koan. Kaya namo ko i-suggest dire, if you may, blend within the title, the COVID-19 pandemic, if this is applicable. Or what about kaha mo ni-limit during the COVID-19?
Focus naman mi sir sa kanang ilang giunsa nila pag-deal sa ilang depression. So, more di bali sila ang coping mechanism.
Okay, okay. It is clearly stated in your SOP that we have the lockdown, and then lockdown is one of the effects of the COVID-19. Depression is the phenomenon, but to be more specific, we should have this in a set nga koan, like during Typhoon Odette Bakaha, you have in the COVID-19 pandemic. For it to be clear, no, kay depression can be experienced at different situations. So how na lamang i-suggest din is you can blend within the title, the COVID-19 pandemic. Sige, okay na ba? Okay. And then, depression is a serious nga kanang bitawng ailment, no? How are we going to clinically define depression? And then, how did we select the informants of this? Kay, we can easily claim, no, nga we are depressed, pero that is too crucial. Kay, there is a certain level of depression. So, unsa man ni nato pag clarify ni nga mga things, and then how are we able to come up with the 6 participants? Are these clinically diagnosed by psychiatrist or what?
In getting our research participants, sir, we use the purposive sampling technique. Means we set criteria for our research participants, and our criteria are the students that manifest the signs of depression and those who are clinically diagnosed.
Okay, so you mean you have asked for, let's just say, mga diagnosis on this, that they are depressed?
First, sir, we search according to the Beyond Blue site na statement dito, sir, nga if the students are kanang experience sadness for a long period of time, like for example 2 weeks, statement to sir nga 2 weeks, then they are considered nga kanang ilang na manifest ang signs of depression.
Okay.
And we kanang amo man tong gi-send sa participants katong info about ingadto dya. Amo silang gipangutana kung kanang usa ilang na experience ingadto dya. Hingtubag man sila nga na experience na kana nga factor nga na dan. Man to sir.
Okay. Now, mao pa ni ang mga tendencies, di ba? We have this self-diagnosing. It is not only true to the behavioral patterns, but in physiological patterns po, like naakay mga, let's just say, nakay nagibati sa imong lawas, and then what to do ka ni Google, di ba? And then you associate all the list of the symptoms you have there, and then, mao na to, niingon na ka, gagikuan na ka, simbako, and then, that's it. So that is beyond our expertise. So it would be better to have an expert on this. Kay it's a serious thing maning depression, and we cannot really directly point that this student or that this person is suffering from depression. Siguro. Kay we need experts on this. We need diagnosis on this. Kay depressed individuals has to go therapy, has to go multiple sessions, di ba? And then we just simply murag nagpa-justify rata nila nga mao ba ni ang atong gikuan, and that is way too subjective siguro. So mao lamang siguro ni ang atong weak point din is what tayo naka refer to an expert on this para makategorize nato ning 6 participants that they are depressed. Okay. And then, maura man po akong concern. And one thing is, I am interested of the IPA or the interpretative phenomenological analysis. Now, who has assisted you on this one?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
How did you administer the IPA? And then, is there an expert nga ni Obanidjo on the analysis on this?
Nara may basis sa among paper, sir.
Yes. Kay, in quantitative man po, di ba, magpa-validate man ta sa atong mga questions. Now, we need experts. And this one, we are also needing experts on this. Pag-analyze. Naabatay expert dire? Okay. Software ning
Gitabangan po ni Ma'am Almira, sir.
Okay, sige. Pero di ni software ning IPA. Usa man ning IPA.
Saan ay software RPA available sa
Yes. Naaman din ni
Sir,
sila.
what do you mean by software?
program ba?
Like in your quantitative, you have the SPSS or the Minitab. Okay, and then is there an equivalent package for you to run the data that you have collected?
Katong kang answer, katong according to Paulette and Beck, naman ito yung 10 stages siya. Nag-base me dito.
Okay, ang pag-interpret ba? Ang pag-interpret. How did you generate the result? Kato pareha sa ila nga na to yung mga sa Pearson R, and then we have no. Unless nag-manual mo, ingani, murag.
Nag-manual mo.
Kaya nag-manual mo, you have to transcribe everything, no?
Yes, sir. Nag-manual mi, sir.
Naunsa man ni ang pagka so ni IPA.
Kwan sir, pag pag interview na mo sir, nagamit man mig ka ng recorder sir para makuha jud na mo ang ilang gipang sulti verbatim.
Yes. Naaman tayo data collection. That is the data collection part. Now, you have the data analysis nga part. Ang kanang data analysis na part, mauna tong imo nang ipang interpret ang mga results dito.
Kung sa quantitative pa mo nang magamit ka ng
SPSS.
mo na ang pag-analyze.
Oh.
Kani
Okay. Yes. Giyon sa pod ninyo. Okay. Yes, kay atong pag-recorder ninyo, that is equivalent to the survey questionnaires, no? Pag data gather pa to, pero pag interpret ba, analyze na. Kana.
Ang pag-analyze na mo sa data sir, amo tong input tanan nga among mga gipang sulti from interviewer ug katong among mga participants. Then after adto sir, among gipang compile ang ilang mga gipang sulti. Then sa pag-compile sa ilang gipang sulti, murag naka-generate pud mi atog themes naman ni 6 ka participants. Then among kanang compile based sa kanang ilang mga similarity nga. Tungod adto naka-generate na mi og theme.
Yes. Okay, so wato nakagamit sa IPA, no? So you can have there are no mga researchers nga nakakandak na pod og thematic analysis. Now, Creswell is good on that one. So pwede og kana kay that is the basic, no? That is the basic way of interpreting qualitative data. And then we start from the basic in order to learn the complicated ones. Di ba? Okay. Kay kung hatagan ganito og complicated nga situation, tendency di ta mo trabaho. Kay wa man tay foundation siguro. Kana lang man siguro ang akong ma-input. Thank you.
Okay, good morning once again. So, na-miss ko sa inyo study, no? Kay, given that you are in a senior high school, it's not really easy nga mag-conduct og qualitative nga research. And kani pa jud is kaning depression, no? So, as mentioned by Sir kaganina, sa inyong papel, ang inyong gimension is clinically diagnosed. And it found out nga it is self-diagnosed. That is different nga kuan ha. Kay kung mingon tag clinically diagnosed, there is kanang finding nga gikan jud sa expert. And that expert is either a psychologist or kanang na-joy nakakuan, nag-study ni ana. And sa inyong, base na po sa inyong tubag nga based on the kuan lang, ng mga criteria nga inyong giset.
Ma'am, excuse me. There are some of our participants that are clinically diagnosed.
But not all.
Not all.
So, dapat ito i-emphasize, ha? Kay ma-mislead na to ang atong mga readers sa atong study.
Among gi-state, ma'am, nga ang among participants kay clinically diagnosed ug mga students nga naka-experience sa signs of depression.
Yes, that is self-diagnosed lagi nga kuan. Okay, so ganina nangutana pud sila kung giun sa ninyo pag apply ang IPA because mama na inyong gisuwat din nga IPA ang inyong kuan. Nagwonder lang po ko kay ning kamapan mo ni ani nga research. I would just like to ask unsa inyong track?
Academic track, STEM strand.
Academic STEM? STEM mo tanan. Okay, ingon ka pa gani ko ni sir nga murag ang future ninyo is mag-psychologist siguro mo. So, based on the stages that you proposed here, natay 10 nga stages, right? Before you come up with a theme, pila ka theme inyong na-produce? 6?
6, ma'am.
Before you come up with a theme, dapat inyong gihanay based on the transcription. By the way, I would just like to ask also, if ang pag-interview ninyo is in English or in our vernacular nga kuan?
Ang among question, ma'am, in English, ang ilang kanang response, pwede ra sila mo English o kanang Bisaya.
That is my point because all your statement here are all English. And take note kung mag-conduct ta og mga qualitative nga research nga ni like that, this is verbatim. Kinahanglan kung unsay ilang gisuwat, mao ilang gisulti mao inyong isuwat. Although, wa pa kon human, although sa interpretation wise, you can interpret it. Pero dili ka pwede nga magsuwat ka nga imong i-translate because naa na siya'y bias. There will be statement nga lahi og interpretation kung moadto na ta sa English. Di ba lain taog translation, no? Kung kani nga word different ni sa ila, different ni sa kada usa. So, kung unsay ilang pagtubag, much as well mao'y atong isuwat. Na.
Ma'am,
Sige.
na ako i-add sa imong gisulti. Kanang sa paghimo na mo sa transcripts, ma'am, kaduha mi naghimo, ma'am. Ang first kato yung verbatim nga katong kung unsay lang gisulti mo, di mo gisuwat. Then pag human adto nakahimo na mi sa transcript, among gi-translate into English. Ja pag translate naman into English, amo tong gisan nila, among gipa-check kung okay na ba to or na ba may gikuha or gipuno ingana.
No, dili siya ingana. Kay dili man siya nga kinahanglan nimo nga ipa-translate sa ila, but rather you are the one kay mo man ay purpose nato nga mag-thematic ta, mag-content analysis ta based on what they say in the actual interview and not what they want. Kay nga naman siya bias translation nga imong gi-translate, like even if you conduct a quantitative survey analysis nga dili ka pwede nga mohatag og hint sa usa ka respondents kay maka-affect na sa imong pag-gather sa data, sa imong result. So that is the essence of having the fair nga kanang gather sa data, no? So make as well nga kadtong ilang giingon pagpermiro, then di ba naaman sa kuan nga i-transcribe ninyo and then you group it. You just kanang get the key word and then based on that key word, inyo nang i-group into theme in which di na to makita sa inyong result of your study. Because as what you have kuan din hiya, kanang right here in your study, gidiretso na ninyo, gi-theme up na ninyo. How did you come up this theme? What are the key words? Kailanlain ba siya sila og tubag? Anya, like for example, kung maingon tag pouring all out emotions, what are those words that would describe this theme?
Sa kanang every theme na mo, ma'am, nag-extract man pud mi kanang gipangsulti sa mga participants nga mo relate ingat nga theme.
Yes, mao lagi ni usa ka pamaagi sa stage, di ba? Sa stage ingon nga ri Group A, the researcher made a summary list of margin notes. Mao man ay usa nga atong kuanan, labi na kay ang inyong gibuhat is mano-mano nga pag-interpret, mano-mano nga pag-analyze. Now, wata naggamit og software nga mo analyze sa atong data, but mano-mano. So, you have to put it in a tabular ba or kaninga side are the left margin and these are the right margin, and based on this mga margin notes, these are the words that would describe this and this, and based on these words, this will come up with one theme. And these words will come up with another theme until you such nga nakahimo mo og 6 ka theme. Kay dili ra man ka mo diretso nga these are the themes based on kana siya nga kuan nga mga keywords, no? Mas better to kay inighatag na to if we publish our works, then makita nila nga ay mao day nakaingon siya nga TikTok kay kanina siya it's either nag-record siya or naggamit siya og another platform but related to TikTok, video ba or nagkuan ba siya, nagsayaw-sayaw siya or nagkuan ko siya. Depende sa mga very important tong mga margin notes nga inyong kanang kuan consider, no? Kay 10 stages gud ang atong gisunod, no? And that summary of kanang theme nga atong giingon katong 6 is na siya sa stage number 7. So, di na to makita giunsa nimo pag pamaagi from stage 1 to stage 7 until you come up with all those kanang interpretations. Na? Mo na nakausa, although mas crucial ang qualitative nga research rather than quantitative nga research. Because quantitative is very established and it is data-driven. While quali are the experience nga imong nakuha. And that is case-to-case basis. Like what you did, this is one example of a case study. Kay phenomenological research ang inyong focus, no? So, much better kung ma-present ninyo sa ingato para makita sa reader nga these are the actual mga notes nga inyong nakuha gikan sa ilang actual nga tubag. Okay.
Additional naman, were you able to ask for a consent from the participants, nga mga parent consent baka ha?
Nag-send me og concert permit nila sa participants.
Okay. So nakakuan sila. We have from the parents, wala?
Wala, sir.
Okay. Okay, no. Hinoon, I don't know if what age group na ni sila, pero 18, pwede na ma'am, pwede na. Okay, sige. Then for your output, you can have katong kuan ma'am, no? You have this psychological first aid. Yes, okay, the psychological first aid kay they are no mentally, psychologically saman kay na disturb. Okay, so to heal, no, kay naman tayo nga mga first aid pod. You can have that one also. No, you can ask the counselors or the guidance counselor for the conduct of this, and this can also be implemented to all. No, di ilaman na to i-select. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Group 3. Let's give them a hand, please. You may now go back to your seats. Let's have a recap of what transpired this morning. Group 1 had their presentation for their paper, Good Time Management, a Way to Better Completion of Students' Tasks. Group 2 has their presentation, self-motivation and academic procrastination among grade 12 STEM students. And group 3 had their presentation for their paper, Unleashing the Agony of Depression, a Key to Healing. So we are down to 2 more groups who will be presenting their paper. But before that, let me ask you guys, have you had your lunch already? Okay. What about the 4th and the 5th groups? Were you able to relax? Okay. Don't worry, because later on, your faith, and I would say your faith, will be put on fire later, okay? But before that, before we proceed to the presentation of Group 4 and Group 5, we will be hearing a very special song number. And I am proud to say that this girl, who happens to be a student of STEM B, grade 12, has a golden voice, okay? She's got a very cool voice, and every time I listen to her voice, it would really make me feel sleepy. Let's find out if that is true. Let's all welcome, let's put our hands together to Miss Shami Hiraldo.
Hello, mic test. Cover speech.
Di biro ang sumulat ng awitin para sa'yo. Para akong isang sirang ulo, hilak-lito. Sa aking pamina ng piano, teglato'y piling nilaro. Baka sakaling menong tono, wala na lang umusbong. Tungkol naman saan kaya awitin para sa'yo. Di biro ang gawing sukat, ang titik sa tono. 10 man aking diksyonaryo, kung ang tugmay di wasto. Basta't isipin di mababago, ang damin ko sa'yo. Araw-gabi, nasa isip ka, napapanaginip ka, kahit saan mapunta. Araw-gabi, nalalasing sa tuwa, kapag kapiling ka, araw-gabi tayong dalawa. Biruin mo na sabi ko ang nais mong ipahatid. Dapat mo lamang mabatid, laman itong dibdib. Di mong awitin ang nasabi ko, likhain. Ito ang tunay na damdamin, tanggapin at tingin. Araw-gabi, nasa isip ka, napapanaginip ka, kahit saan magpunta. Araw-gabi, nalalasing sa tuwa, kapag kapiling ka, araw-gabi tayong dalawa. Araw-gabi tayong dalawa. isip ka, napapanaginip ka, kahit sa mapunta. Ang gabi nalalasing sa tuwa, kapag kapiling ka, araw-gabi tayong dalawa. Araw-gabi tayong
Thank you very much, Shami. Imagine no practice, no rehearsal, on the spot intermission number. And not only that, singing a Regine Velasquez song is not that easy. Okay? So, guys, I think she deserves another round of applause, please. Alright, so I just hope that the members of the fourth group are now ready, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. So, for their paper presentation, which is titled The Influence of Social Media on the Psychosocial Behavior Among Senior High School Students, let's now meet them with their leader, Jessie Antea Compendio. Followed by her members, Jana Agua Acosta, Riza Joyce Leiros, Nishanta Denise Sianco, Gabriel Gorolio, Kyle Dines Lagria, and the last but definitely not the least, Josh Paul Orag. With their coach, Ma'am Noreen Lay Ramos. Once again, Group 4 will be presenting their paper called The Influence of Social Media on the Psychosocial Behavior Among Senior High School Students. So, to you guys, good luck.
A pleasant day to all, especially to our dear panelists, Mrs. Adolfa Diola, Mr. Jonathan Palco, Dr. Melodina de la Cruz, and Dr. Beverly Fernandez, to our beloved principal, Ms. Joanne Casillas, and all the teachers and fellow students present here. Before we formally present our study, we will first introduce ourselves. I am JC Antea Compendio, the leader of this group, and these are my members. This is Riza Leiros, this is Josh Polarag, this is Jana Acosta, Nishanta Shanko, Gabriel Gorolio, and Kyle Legria. So today, we, Group 4 of 12 SEMD, will be discussing the study we conducted. Social media has a significant impact on modern life. I'm sure all of you here, and not just the students, but also our beloved teachers, use social media. This craze has sparked a slew of questions regarding its societal impacts. While it is commonly known that social media has an effect on people's lifestyles, determining the nature of these influences, particularly among adolescents, is still a work in progress. And for that reason, we, the researchers, have conducted our study entitled The Influence of Social Media on the Psychosocial Behavior Among Senior High School Students. So now, going forward, we will discuss our statement of the problem. Mr. Orag?
Statement of the problem. The study aimed to determine the influence of social media on the psychosocial behavior of 12 STEM students of St. Joseph College for the school year of 2021 to 2022 to come up with an intervention plan. Specifically, this study sought to answer the following questions. 1. What is the level of influence of social media among senior high school students in terms of frequency and amount of time spent using social media, variety of social media platforms they use, content they're exposed to. 2. What is the psychosocial behavior of senior high school students in terms of family relationship, academic performance, ability to work and concentrate, and attitude. 3. Is there a significant relationship between the level of social media and the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students? 4. What other factors affect the psychosocial behavior of senior high school students? 5. What output can be generated from the findings of the study? And we have Mr. Laguia for rationale.
Rationale. Social media's impact on human behavior. Social media's impact on modern life is causing human behavior to change. The increased duration and frequency of exposure to social media, particularly during this pandemic, is thought to be causing noticeable changes in psychosocial behavior. In this study, psychosocial behavior is defined as an individual's response or reaction to how he or she behaves in a school setting or anywhere else, as a result of using social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others. It is known that the use of social media has a lot of effects to people, especially to the students. Using social media's different platforms causes both positive and bad behavioral effects to them. Positive behavioral effects include better communication, socializing online, learning, and others. On the other hand, too much exposure and frequent usage of social media causes bad behavioral effects to them. With any activity, it's always best to use social media in moderation and make sure it doesn't take over other areas of our life. Now, for the theoretical background, we have Ms. Leros.
Theoretical background of the study. This study is anchored in the following theories: technological determinism theory by Thorstein Veblen, and Clapper reinforcement or limited effect theory by Joseph Clapper. Technological determinism theory. Technological determinism by Thorstein Veblen, 1929, states that media technology shapes how individuals think, feel, act, and how the society operates as one move from one technological age to another. So, technological determinism theory describes that the society will adapt and change to the current technological age. For example, they are on the electric age, but when they find out about the new information age, they will change and adapt to that. Clapper reinforcement or limited effect theory. In 1960, Joseph Clapper at Columbia University was concerned that average people exaggerated the power of media. He introduced what he called phenomenalism theory. His theory is often referred to now as reinforcement theory because a key assertion is that the primary influence of media is to reinforce, means not change existing attitudes and behavior. So, Clapper reinforcement or limited effect theory is about Joseph Clapper concerning that average people exaggerated the power of media. Therefore, he introduced what he called phenomenalism theory. With this theory, he argued that media rarely have direct effects and relatively powerless when compared to the other social and psychological factors such as social status, group membership, education, and so forth. For the next slide, we have Ms. Acosta for systematic diagram of the study.
For schematic diagram of this study, the diagram in Figure 1 showed that the researchers are guided by the theories and connection into the influence of social media on psychosocial behavior. Technological determinism theory, Thurston Veblen, 1857 to 1929. Individuals learn, feel, and think the way they do because of the messages they receive through the current technology that is available. Clapper enforcement or limited effects theory, Joseph Clapper, 1960, focuses that when new systems of technology are developed, the culture or society is immediately adopted to reflect the senses needed to use the new technology. The independent variable of our study, the influence of social media, frequency and amount of time spent using social media, variety of social media platforms they use, content they are exposed to. The dependent variables are psychosocial behavior among senior high school students, family relationship, academic performance, ability to work and concentrate, and attitude. Other factors affecting psychosocial behavior among students. The output of our study is positibo na paglantaw o paggamit sa social media alang sa maayo na kaugmaon sa mga batanon. After testing the differences in the two assessment tools, it can now be concluded whether social media has an influence on students' psychosocial behavior. For the next slides, we have Mr. Gorolio.
Now that we are familiar with the background of the study, we can now move on to the methodologies that were being applied in this study. For the research design, the study utilized a descriptive correlational design in which the researcher is primarily interested in describing relationship between variables. This sought to identify whether there is a significant relationship between the level of influence of social media and the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students. For the research environment, the study was conducted at St. Joseph's Senior High School Department at Tungatunga, Masin City, Southern Leyte. For the respondents, there are 100 randomly selected grade 12 STEM students, academic year 2021 to 2022. The sampling technique that was used was the simple random sampling, which is a type of probability sampling in which the researcher randomly selects a subset of participants in a population. For the research instrument, the instrument that was used in the study is a researcher-made questionnaire which was validated by Dr. Melodina Cruz, EDD. Now for the data gathering procedure. Next slide, please. For the data gathering procedure, the researcher prepared and submitted a letter to the principal of the St. Joseph College Senior High School Department, Masin City, Southern Leyte, for the approval to conduct the study. The questionnaire was validated by Dr. Melodina de la Cruz, and once it was approved, the survey was then conducted to the 100 randomly selected 12 STEM students. Surveys were conducted through Google Forms, and thematic analysis was utilized to analyze the responses of the respondents on the challenges they encountered in the influence of the social media. For the statistical treatment of data, average weighted mean was used to determine the level of influence of social media to the behavior of the senior high school students. Person R was used to test the significant relationship between the level of influence of social media and the behavior among senior high school students.
Moving on, we will now discuss the chapter that presents, analyzes, and interprets the results of the study. The data gathered will be shown in tables that contain averages, frequencies, and percentages. For table 1, we have Ms. Shanko.
For Table 1, the level of influence of social media among senior high school students, it revealed that the level of influence of social media is illustrated by three constructs. It is generally very influential, implying that social media has played an important part on their day-to-day activity. Specifically on frequency and amount of time spent on social media, they have largely spent on it for several hours. With regards to the variety of social media platforms, the level of influence of Facebook and Instagram is very influential. They are not mostly influenced by TikTok, Twitter, or combination of one or more types of platform. They are mostly influenced by, though much research has done for decades to prove the most popular media platform. Exposure to inappropriate content on social media may create a negative impact to users, especially the most vulnerable group. Hence, it is necessary for elders to scrutinize the type of content that they engage into. For Table 2, we have Ms. Acosta.
For Table 2, the level of psychosocial behavior of senior high school students. The degree of perception of the sampled senior high school students on the involvement of social media is generally observable on their psychosocial behavior. On family relationship, they indicated that social media has not meddled in family affairs and has no negative effect, so that extent of engagement is mostly only moderately observable. Additionally, for the two contracts, the ability to work and concentrate and attitude, the study revealed that the level of psychosocial behavior is also observable as perceived by the sampled respondents. However, on academic performance aspect, they indicated that the level of connection of social media to the psychosocial behavior is very observable, especially on study habit and accomplishing schoolwork on time. For Table 3, we have Mr. Urag.
Table 3, profile of the significant relationship of the level of influence of social media and psychosocial behavior. Results of the study have shown that the relationship is significant at 0.05 level, implying that the relationship of the two constructs observed in the sample also exists in larger population. The present study reveals that the impact of social media on the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students has become more complex as there is continuous evolution of technology. In line with prior work of Overy and Gregg in 2017, who stresses that although social media can help students, it may also result to serious backwardness, both socially and psychologically. For Table 4, we have Ms. Leros.
For Table 4, other factors that affect the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students. Table 4 tabulates the frequency rating of the other factors stated that affects the psychosocial behavior of senior high school students. The respondents were able to identify the other factors that affect the psychosocial behavior. We have listed in our questionnaire 16 other possible questions or factors that affect the psychosocial behaviors among senior high school students. But here on the screen, we only wrote the top 5 in rank. Academic pressure ranked first with an 80% in affecting the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students. And substance abuse ranks 16, the last rank. Based on the findings, it is related to a study about how social media influences academic performance that states the phenomena of social media has become the source of worry to anyone who believe in knowledge and skill acquisition. For the next slide, we have Ms. Compendio for the findings.
For the summary of our findings, number 1, the study revealed that the level of influence of social media illustrated by the 3 constructs is generally very influential, implying that social media has played an important part in their day-to-day activity. Number 2, the degree of perception of the sampled senior high school students on the involvement of social media is generally observable on their psychosocial behavior. For number 3, there is a significant relationship between the influence of social media and psychosocial behavior. Furthermore, results of the study have shown that the relationship is significant at 0.05 level, implying that the relationship of the 2 constructs observed in the sample also exists in larger population. Number 4, academic pressure has the highest prospect of affecting the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students, and substance abuse being the lowest. Number 5, result indicates that there is a strong positive relationship between the influence of social media and psychosocial behavior. For the next slide, on our conclusions and recommendations, we have Mr. Garolio.
Now for our conclusions and recommendations. For our conclusion, based on the findings of the study, the following conclusion has been derived. Social media has an influence on the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students. Although it has an effect to other factors, the study reveals that the influence of social media has a particularly great impact on the decrease in the academic performance among senior high school students. Therefore, it appears that social media has brought much negative effect rather than positive influence on behavior, and it is a must that students must be keen enough to manage usage. For the recommendations, based on the findings of the study, the following are recommended. First, the researchers, with the help of the teachers, may coordinate with the parents by appealing to administrators and PTA for the preparation of positive social media usage seminars through symposiums and information dissemination during PTA meetings. Second, strict monitoring and evaluation of the students' social media may be done by the school head or other school staff. Third, parents or legal guardians at home may also discipline their children regarding social media usage. Fourth, future researchers may conduct studies on the influence of social media to the psychosocial behavior of students in other areas. And last, similar studies with the same goal should be done with a large sample size used in the study to promote a wider scope and a more generalized perspective. For the output of the study, here is Ms. Shanko to explain.
For project name, positibo na paglantaw ug paggamit sa social media alang sa maayo na kaugmaon sa mga batanon is a project or campaign which will focus on educating and encouraging senior high school students to have a positive outlook on social media usage and the ways it can be beneficial to their psychosocial behavior, especially the academic performance. Social media platform will be utilized as the medium for promotion of this campaign in order to easily reach the target audience. For the impact of on students, we have Ms. Compedio.
The project positibo na paglantaw o paggamit sa social media alang sa maayo na kaugmaon sa mga batanon will focus on helping students in grade 12 to improve their psychosocial behavior, and especially in terms of academic performance through the positive use of social media. It will help to inspire students and pique their interest in learning because they will be able to interact and acquire new study tactics on their own through social media. Not only current grade 12 students, but also incoming grade 12 students and students in future school years will benefit from this. We are hopeful that our study will be beneficial in improving the psychosocial behavior in students and for students to have positive social media use. That will be all for our presentation. Thank you for listening, and we are now open for your questions, suggestions, and clarifications. Thank you.
Good afternoon, fourth group, headed by Ms. Compendio. Yours is determining the influence of social media on the psychosocial behavior. Just for specific, or let's say a clear explanation, give us a scenario. What is this psychosocial behavior in the context of your study? Gawa sa inyong pag-define kay it's very broad mangodari, refers to the grade 12 STEM students' mental and physical way of acting in response to a certain stimulus. So could you please give us a better picture of what is the psychosocial behavior?
So we use in our study psychosocial behavior. Can I use my native language, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, explaining. So, psychosocial behavior, ang among pag-define ana is both the psychological and social aspect of behavior of students. Ang among pagbasabot ingani is how a student acts both psychologically and socially in a social setting, and how kibale og
Bisayaon man kanay mo, miss. Sige, okay ra.
kuan kanang kibale sa ilang usage sa social media, giunsa man sila pagka-impluwensyahan ang ilang actions both socially and psychologically. So pwede na si just sa school, like sa among kuan sa among questionnaires and sa among mga survey na among emphasize on what aspect sila sa ilang psychosocial behavior mapektuhan ilang and sa mapektuhan sa social media ang ilang psychosocial behavior.
Okay, so how are they going to react on everything? Like in your key areas here, the family relationship, sa academic performance, and then their work and concentration, siguro ni siya. Then attitude. Now, as I went through on the items or your indicators on the part 1 of your questionnaire, it talks or discuss only or exemplify only the usage of social media rather than the influence. Diba, the simpler term of influence is effect. Diba? The effect of using social media. Kung ato pa dyan ipasimplify, kay murag big word ra po ning influence. Mas broader ang term nga influence. So the effect of using social media on the psychosocial behavior of the students. But ang inyong questionnaire, though it was validated by Doc Melodina, she thought it's only the level of usage. But then, it is about influence. So natingapod siya. So how would you reconcile this data? Kasi pag may influence, it will be based, there is a certain statistical tool that would give you a result on the significant effect, say, a significant effect of this use or utilization of social media on the psychosocial behavior basing on the key areas. So if you will be given the chance to revise your data, how are you going to go about it? You have to utilize, of course, your questionnaire because it has been validated. So kung kintahi tagaan mo og chance nga i-fit na laang ang inyong data, pangitaan na naman inyong question or SOP ang inyong nga data, aron dili masayang ang data. So if you will be the one to revise your own SOP, what will it be?
For me, ma'am, for us, ang among opinion is, di na sa SOP ang among i-change kay mas taas naman ang among mausob ingana. And so ang among usbon is ang title na laman para mas mo connect siya nga the effect ang kuan.
Actually, miss, ang title will be based on the SOP. So, dili gihapon ka makausob sa title kung dili nimo usbon imong SOP. Og mayong kag dili ninyo usbon ng SOP kay dako mo og kanana ang kuano nun, dako mo og i-revise. Mas masayang ang inyong data. Now, if you look at your data, group 4, same ra mo og Likert scale nga gigamit, still level of frequency. Kapakapansin mo sa inyong psychosocial behavior, dapat unta degree of agreement supposedly. Kay behavior man na siya. Dili man na utilization. Okay lang ning usa. So it doesn't mean that the Likert scale that you have used in the part 1 will be true to the second part. It will depend on what type of data you wanted to gather. So I do suggest that you'll have to adjust your SOP on the data gathered, but I suggest further that you have to change your scale. How are we going to name that? The descriptors, let's say. Kadton dili siya degree of frequency ang inyong gamiton, but rather degree of agreement. Okay, so that's all for my end.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Bebs. So I just would like to make some sort of in defense man sa akong kagalingon no kay mag na kuan na nga I validated. Actually, I did not validate your questionnaire, but rather I just approved nga mauni nga questionnaire inyong kuan. If you can see here, you have here your validation test, di ba? Di man ako nag-test aning inyong Cronbach Alpha? Was it me? So I think dili, no? Aning sa inyong test on reliability on page 48. Di ba dili ako nag-test ani? Oh, mo lang, that's why I said, it's not me that validated your questionnaire, but I just approved the questions. Ang pag-approve sa questionnaire nga inyong gamiton does not mean nga nag-validate ko. Ang mo-validate, ana, is katong nag-test sa consistency, sa reliability, mo na ang validation. Mo na ang kuan, test validity. Ang, as far as I remember, I said, mo galing na iyo kung ganang mga Bebs nga, murag di man to influence ahong gi kuan nga question, murag extent of usage man ganing to ahong gi suggesting nga ninyo. Na mo nang ang inyo kung tan-aon po ninyo ang inyong indicators, it's more of the extent of usage. Kay na maingon mo diri nga I use social media every day. So ako magaling nag-suggest ninyo nga ngani-on ninyo kay I suggested nga it's more of extent of usage. Unsay effect sa extent sa use social media sa psychosocial behavior. That is if I remember it right, but I don't know, siguro na mix up ra pod basta murag mao ni hang mahimduman so far. And then I even suggested nga modified or sa ni enjoy kamo ra may naghimo sumurag na kinumdum ko nga kamo ra naghimo mo tong ni iyong kuninjo nga i-test na ninyo ang inyong reliability o validity kung ano ninyo Cronbach Alpha. I think I was also the one who suggested na you will use Cronbach Alpha. Pero wak mo nagpa-compute na ho aning Cronbach Alpha. So that means I did not validate, no? Okay, so sige naman. Well, anyway, naa naman wa na tayo mahimo ni ana. Ang ako na naman siguro pong suggestion is you just restate your problem because you already have your data. So instead of having your first problem, what is the level of influence, it might be that you will have it stated, what is the extent of the use of social media? Okay, para dili masayang inyong data, no? Okay, what you are measuring here is, I think, the extent of usage because, as I said, sa imong tan-awon ang indicators, magmaon na ang inyong ipasabot, no? So, another thing, mao tong katong giingon ni Ma'am Bebs ganina nga dili lagi degree of agreement dapat ang sa kuan, dili degree of frequency because you have here always, often, sometimes, rarely, never. Pagsuwat po ninyo sa suggestion naman po, inigsuwat ninyo sa inyong legend because this always, often, sometimes, rarely, never is not used in your data table man, adyo na naman sa ibutang. Dapat kanirang range, then the descriptive equivalent that you are trying to use. Muna dapat ang ibutang ninyo as your legend sa ubo sa inyong table. No? Okay, so murag mao to yung nakita. I do not have any further questions because, as I said, your answer will not anymore kuan sa inyong main problem.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay. So, valuable ang inputs ni Ma'am Dindin and Ma'am Beverly, no? So, we have here on the extent of the usage of the social media. Now, to narrow it down pa jud, since you are having the population of the STEM students, so mas maadyo po og mas specify po ni nato din kay to avoid misleading kung which strand of the senior high school has been tested. Okay? So katong gi-suggest nga title and then specify laman nato that we have the senior high school STEM students siguro. Okay. Now, regarding with your data collection, how is this being administered or how is this being done?
Through Google Forms.
Okay, through Google Forms. And then this is a researcher-made questionnaire. Okay, so you have the process on validation. Okay. Now, were you able to pilot test also this one? Were you able to pilot test also your questionnaire?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kinsa man ang nakandakan sa pilot testing?
Ang nag-conduct sa pilot testing is Camera Food, pero sa lahi nga strand.
Okay. Sige, good. Maadyo. Kay, what man lagi na-mention dire, and then that is an important part, no? Kung muran mo og kanang ingani nga mga processes, it has to be pilot tested. Kay, we have from the experts level, and then we also have from the respondents level, no? Para magka-jive pod kung asa. Kay, the level of the experts and the level of the respondents could vary. No? So, kana laman ang ahong gi-input. And, okay, na ito. You have here the respondents, you have stated who were willing to participate in the study. Okay, I'm confused if kung moingon taog willing, I think this is not systematically done or randomly done. Ikuan ko no, justify ko no, how is this done?
Ang gi-advise sa among research advisor, sir, is mo send sa nila og kanang letter of approval or kanang i-orient sa sila if they are willing to participate and answer sa among Google Forms kay for the sake of their anonymity and privacy pod sa ilang i-share nga data. Mo may gitudlo sa among advisor, so mo sa among gisunod nga if willing ra sila or di.
Okay, because the willingness could somehow affect no the number of respondents. Okay, what if di ko gusto? Ana. Anyway, in qualitative nga research, that may be accepted. Kay you are giving the informants or the participants to decline. Okay, ana. Pero kung ingani nga setup quantitative, pwede raman nato i-appeal sa atong discussion just like ganina nga mga grupo, some have not. Okay, kay para di bitaw mo affect sa inyong number of respondents, especially if you are sampling from a large population. Okay. Yeah. Then in your presentation in your chapter 4 na naman hinuuntay mga introductory nga mga statements or introductory paragraph diha. Pwede ni natong i-transfer to the RRL nga part or in the rationale nga part kay, or let's just say this could be supporting nga mga discussion sa inyong results and discussion nga part. Di ni jud ni si ingon nga naa sa kinaunhan. Oh, kay introduction, then mura ba og nimbalik na punta og introduce what is psychosocial.
Actually, sir, ang pagsuot na mo ana before is wa na mo gibutang, then mo may gi-advise so ning sunod ra pud mi.
Okay. Sige. Sige. And then the relevance now of the other factors sa inyong study, ikuan ko no. Naaman mo tabulation on the other factors that affect the psychosocial behavior among senior high school students. Now, this could be another study kay what you need to focus is on the social media ra. 'Di ba? Kay kung ning touch mo ani mangita na pud mo og lahi nga mga questions. Now, statement of the problem. Kay nag-study na mo pud mo og laing factors. Focus ra laman sa usa. Okay, so daga na naman. And okay, for the recommendations, naman inyong mga results diha, how the social media influence, no? So it could be a good recommendation for integration on the usage of social media in everyday lesson. Kay para ma-engage mo, no? Kana nga. Making use of unsa may mga social media nga pwede ba magamit ang Facebook kung magklase og science, pwede ba magamit ang ingana siya kay para to have it more engaging. Okay. And for your project, okay, it would also be better to have a shorter title sa mga project, no? Let's just say project kasama na project social media or kanang project influence, and then kana ba making use of the letters, and then naamoy mga kana inyong gipang abbreviate bitaw for the respondents or for the kana bitaw mga recipients, dali sila makahinumdom kaysa kung taas-taas atong project pangutan unsa man toy pangalan sa inyong project, and then you have that one. Ang tendency makalimot sila unless kung naara kay usa ka word, ngayon project na mo kay influence man to or social media man to, nga na murag mutatak jud nila ba even though di sila maka-spell out jud sa whole whole project name, pero himuan og acronym kana kay para nindot pod. Okay, sige, thank you.
before now ihatag ni Ma'am Adelpa. I just would like to inform Sir Jonathan and for the rest nga, because Sir Jonathan is so concerned about other factors as part of their question. Actually, sir, we're advising them to have these other factors as contingency problem because sometimes, like they wanted to establish if there is a correlation between the two variables. And sometimes the result would show that the correlation is not significant. So that they could also have their chance to explain what could be other things na nganong why correlation established, mo nang we always advise them to have this contingency problem, sir. So mo nang naani sila other factors. So you notice na sa tanan, alos sa tanang study na ang kuan naman is kanang di laman nila usahay substantially explain and then like this one ingon sila nga ilang thematic analyze diwa so dili na hinoon kuan mura kung baga dili na hinoon si Jama ka help ug support sa unsay outcome sa ilang main problem. Mo na naman si Jama like kani rank ra ila dapat man unta kuan jud sila. Mo na sila sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. So, medyo kuan ang inyong study no kay in ra ba karon ang social media labi na sa mga batanon no. So, I would like to emphasize my comment on the theory and the data nga inyong nagather. So, as I have read the discussion of your theoretical framework, I think that Clapper reinforcement or limited effects theory does not fit with your study. Why? It's because if you kanang tawag nga na, go back to your explanation, it says here that Joseph Clapper's theory was concerned on the average people exaggerated the power of media. Yes, it's correct because you are study about media. But he introduced that what he called phenomenalism theory. With this theory, he argued that media rarely have any direct effects and are relatively powerless when compared with other social and psychological factors, such as social status and so on and so forth. No? Diha pa lamang daan, cut na ta, nga naman. Ang atong gi-claim is there is a direct effect. Right? Are you claiming that there is a direct effect on the psychosocial behavior of the senior high school? So that is your assumption, that is your hypothesis, nga naa siya'y direct effect. So, dili siya applicable, no? Aside from that, when we cite on a theory, that means mo na siya atong basis on how we select and build variables for data collection. Pero that is not necessary nga mauna say atong sundon. But rather, the question is, what are those factors nga gihisgutan ni ani nga theory that are applicable to my study? Given that the influence of social media nga inyong gibutang dinhiya, you are claiming or you are focusing on the frequency and the amount, the variety, the content, or ang katong ilang unsay kanunay nilang gitan-aw, much as well mangita mo og theory nga naghisgot ni ani nga mga butang nga naay effect or that would have something influence to other factors, no? And kung atong basihan sa inyong variables nga frequency, variety of social and content, Ang akong pangutana sa inyong first nga data in table 1, kung moingon ko, I assume nga kani kay nakatabular siya and Likert ang inyong gigamit. All of these questions should be answered by each of the respondent. Right? Sakto ko? Kung moingon ko, I use social media every day. What does it mean if it is always? And I use social media for 30 minutes, 1 hour in a day. Unsa may ilang differences? Unsa may inyong kitao niya na? 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours every day. Naba na siya'y lain nga interpretation kung moingon ko nga everyday ko, check ko tanan, and always ko tanan. What would be it implicate with your study? Kay kung moingon ko tag frequency and amount, kapila man day ka mo gamit og social media? Is always not enough? Kung may kag always, kinahanglan pa ba jud ka mangingon ka nga 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours?
Ma'am, I'm not reasoning out ani ma'am ha, pero at first na pod gihapon before mi gipa-revise, ang among gisuwat is kanalaging always nga na, pero di man daw specified o unsa katasa ang oras, so gipakuan
Yes.
nga oras nga.
Because you are talking about frequency and amount. That means the scaling is not appropriate. It's enough kung mo choose or select ka with all these choices. You just select. What is the frequency? Unsa man ang atong frequency nga sgyutan? Once, twice, always? Correct. And that amount of time is separate. If it means always, then we can give an average amount of time. For always, how much time do you spend each day? That is another variable that you need to capture rather than imong ipa-scale tanan. Kay unsa may but pasabot ni ani kung moingon kog ako ko ning chikan tanan nga always ko kay always man jud ko naggamit og social media. Mo ni nakakuan sa inyong questionnaire because inyong gibutang inyong gi-rating scale nga in fact pwede ra man siya nga mo select ra mo between one. Like for example, or pwede man siya kung ang imong choices is you can check 2-3 options. Like for example, variety of social media platforms. Of course, I will check all. Kay nagamit kog TikTok, nagamit kog Twitter, nagamit kog Instagram. And the question is, how many of these respondents of yours uses TikTok, Twitter? Did you capture that information in your presentation? Kay influence man, with all the 100 respondents nga inyong gi-review, gi-survey, pila man kabuok din haadi ay ang nagamit og social media? What type of social media ang ilang kanunay nga gigamit? That is the descriptive statistics that you need to present, no? As I have observed, mo po na akong naobserbaran nga wala ninyo nakuha or wala ninyo gipresent kung unsa ang inyong mga variables nga gi-consider. You just diretso na mo sa mean, diretso na mo. And remember, kung mina is tanan na. Pwede man na to captureon, no? Sa frequency, pila man day, how much average amount of time is spent by each or by the senior high school in SJC ang ilang gi-allocate or ilang gigamit for the usage of social media. Makaingon ta nga, oy, dako-dako dahil nga amount of time kung moabot sila tag 4 ka oras na po ka oras nagsigi og social media. Na? So kana. And aside from that, katupong sa inyong table number 2 kay I think ang inyong mga question like academic performance. Does it mean nga kung ingon kag I spend time using social media than studying? How could we say that it affects academic performance? Nga wa man tay gi-measure dinhi nga unsaon man pag-measure sa academic performance nato? What is our measurement for academic performance? I think it's a matter of choice, a matter of how you state your questions. Naamo sa sakto nga path nga gusto ninyong mahibaw-an kung naay changes din hiya, but how you state your questions mao na ang nakalisod or naka-apekto sa inyong study. Nga wa ninyo na-capture. Mao nang gisuggest ni ma'am nga you better change your title and SOP of your study. Kay mas dako magtrabaho kung moingon nga you better collect another data than to come up with another title and another SOP. Kay naa naman ang data, no? Sayang man. Sayang ang data nga atong kuha. And the last is you are using person-R correlation. And this is a parametric test nga nag-need to support all the assumptions nga masatisfy ninyo. Now the question, did you test all the assumptions before using the person-R correlation?
We don't know much about that guy. We hired a statistician, same as the other group, so di mi kadyo familiar about nga na ma'am.
Yes. Nanata din nga pwede ta maka-hire, but we need to study that what are the underlying assumptions when using this statistical test, no?
We only understood the data to a certain extent. Like, ma'am.
Kaya naman na siya mga kamo man ang mo-discuss, di man si statistician ang mo-discuss sa inyong study. So remember, your data is on the rank, ordinal level. Diha pa naman daan, one of the assumption for person-R correlation is at least interval level sa data. So it's a no-no na sa person-R correlation nga magamit ta, no? For ordinal data. So, mo na atong bantayan, no, kung mag-select ta og statistical tools. It should be appropriate for the level of measurement sa atong data. Kay para dili ta ma-question kung ato ni siyang i-publish, no? Kay there would be another expert nga mo, oy ngano man ni siya. No? So, mo na ang akong i-emphasize and ang inyong output of the study maybe dili naman siguro pug kinahanglan nga program gajud ang inyong kuanon nga murag na o project nga murag engagement of kanabang murag nagkinahanglan gajud og effort. Maybe you can kuan as kanang students, no? Nga ma-divert ang attention sa mga estudyante towards social media nga murag na ay diversion. Maybe makapropose mo og another activity within the school nga makakuan og kanang na ay attention nga ma-change ang iyang perception towards media, social media usage nga ma-cut off ba ninyo at least 1 hour or 2 hours ang iyang paggamit og social media nga naba mo'y i-propose nga mga kanang na ay activities like or kanang proposal para sa inyong sana Supreme Student Council nga mag-ingani ta every Wednesday, every Friday or para at least na ay kuan sa mga estudyante. Kaya ang mga estudyante karon og vacant social media, cellphone, mao man ay kasagaran. Kuan na siguro, ingana siguro mga policies pwede ninyong ma-output of your study. Not necessarily nga magkanang kuan mo og usa ka project, usa ka program, no? Kay eventually that policies or that kanang na activity pwede na ninyo kanang na-recommend that in the future they can kanang evaluate if this will be effective, no, in diverting or in influencing the psychosocial behavior of the students. Okay? So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. So, yes, Group 4, thank you. You may now go back to your seats. We would just like to remind our participants that the panelists are not scolding you, okay? They are also not they're not criticizing you negatively, but constructively. And I hope that the audience here inside the center are really focused on listening, especially the comments and suggestions of the panelists. And to our streamers, I hope that you are learning a lot from this forum. We actually have two takeaways here, no? We should be giving extra prudence or care in creating our title. Because that title actually, parang it's like reading a story. So if you read the title of a story, it gives you what the story is all about. May I ask the audience to please refrain from talking? Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's like, reading, for example, okay, I want you to read, let's say, The Woman Who Had Two Navel by Nick Wakin. Even if you have not read the story yet, by simply analyzing the title, The Woman Who Had Two Navel, you know how the story would go. Correct? The same thing, because this is the takeaway that I have had this afternoon. You have to be very prudent or careful in titling, giving a title to your research. Because, along the way, that is what your paper is all about, especially in formulating questions. All right? So it's getting, more, I would say, intense and interesting. Okay, so let's now proceed to the last performers or presenters. They are from ABM Strand, okay? Grade 12 ABMA students, whose paper is titled Level of Self-Care Among Senior High School Students of St. Joseph College. I repeat, their paper is titled Level of Self-Care Among Senior High School Students of St. Joseph College. Let's all welcome the participants, led by Christian Micaela Baldos. And her members, we have Jansen Echo, Jessare Garrido, Lorenzo Ejido, Claire Ann Gonzalez, and Bernardine Valera, with their coach, Sir Jason Orais. Once again, the last group for today's forum. Good luck, guys. You may now take your seats.
Hello. to our dear principal, Dr. Joanne L. Castillas, our honorable panelists for today's research defense, Dr. Beverly Fernandez, Dr. Meladina de la Cruz, Mr. Jonathan Palco, and Ms. Adelpha Diola, our teachers, coaches, co-researchers, future researchers, and of course, everyone that's tuning live or offline and online for today's research defense. A pleasant day to each and every one of us. We are the Group 2 of Grade 12 ABMA, and we are here to present to you our research entitled The Level of Self-Care Among Senior High School Students of St. Joseph College. Before we proceed to the introduction and the statement of the problem, I would like to once again introduce myself. I am Christian Micaela Olano Baldos. I am the group leader of Grade 12 ABMA, and here beside me are my members.
I am Claire Ann P. Gonzalez, and I am going to discuss later on the summary of our findings, conclusion, and recommendations.
I am Lorenz Ejido, and I am the one to discuss the Chapter 4, which is Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data.
I am Jensen Echo, and I will be the one to continue the research methodology.
I am Bernardine Valera, and I will present the research methodology.
And I am Jessica Garrido, and I will discuss the theoretical background of the study.
Once again, a pleasant afternoon to each and every one of us. So before I start, I would like to ask the crowd, who among you here have heard or is familiar with the term self-care? Please raise your hands, those who are familiar with self-care. Yes, so of course, almost all of us, if not all of us, have been familiar with self-care or is familiar with self-care. Self-care has been on and about on different daily conversation for years now. But however, despite how frequent we discuss and tackle self-care, some of us still have a very limited knowledge on self-care. On different social media platforms and websites, we see a lot of people from different regions and countries posting about self-care in the forms of going to salons, going to spas, vacation, and other occasional treats. However, sometimes because of this, we tend to fail and we tend to forget to realize the real and deeper essence of the broad concept of self-care, which is why we have created our research study. Because self-care is more than an occasional treat. It is a way of living that incorporates behavior that help you feel refreshed, re-energized, and rested. It encompasses both general and personal hygiene, food quality and nutrition, lifestyle and leisure, living conditions and socioeconomic factors, as well as self-medication. Because of this, self-care is indeed one of the greatest factors that affects a student's level of well-being. Thus, the researchers have thoroughly made this research in the hopes that this would help the students discover more on the essence of self-care, help students discover more on the essence of self-care, and find out how greatly does self-care affect the growth, development, and progress of one towards the level of full potential and well-being. Now, for our statement of the problem. The study aimed to determine the level of self-care among senior high school students during the first semester of academic year 2021-2022. So for the first question, we have identified the profile of the respondents in terms of age and gender. Next, we have identified 4 indicators that may help us in measuring the level of self-care among senior high school students. These are the emotional self-care indicator, physical self-care indicator, spiritual self-care indicator, and psychological self-care indicator. Third is there a significant difference in the level of self-care in terms of gender and age? And lastly, what output can be generated from the study? Now for our theoretical background to give us the description or definition of the theories that we use to base our study, we now have Jessere Garrido.
Theoretical background of the study. The theories that we use as basis in our study are Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the self-care theory by Dorothea Oram. The hierarchy of needs by Abraham Maslow states that there are 5 categories of human basic needs in order to understand what motivates human beings. And those are physiology needs, security needs, belongingness needs, esteem needs, and at the very peak of the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. Self-actualization refers to as the feeling that we are living up to our own potential and desired level of well-being. On the other hand is the self-care theory by Dorothea Oram. The self-care theory is a grand nursing theory. It states that self-care is a practice of activities that individuals initiate and perform in maintaining life, health, and well-being. Therefore, the mentioned theories truly lead researchers that self-actualization and self-care can affect the level of one's being, especially the students, and even and all more. In this time of never-ending adjustments and changes. Thank you. That is all for the theoretical background of the study.
Research methodology. This chapter presents the method we used in conducting our study. For research design, we utilize a non-experimental type, particularly the descriptive correlational research design. For research environment, we conducted our study at Senior High School Department of St. Joseph College, located at Maasin City, Southern Leyte. St. Joseph College is a Catholic school with 94 long years of history. And for the research respondent of this study were the selected grade 12 students of St. Joseph College through probability sampling. The respondent of this study occupies 17% of the grade 12 students' population. And now, to continue the presentation, we have Ms. Eco.
In the research instruments, the instruments that we've used to collect data was the questionnaire, a questionnaire that is adopted with modification from a study entitled Transforming the Pain, a workbook on vicarious traumatization. The rate of the students on the level of self-care were gathered and measured by the frequency using the Likert scale. The researchers were utilized Google Forms and were sent online to the respondents. In data collection procedure, we have sent out the Google Form questionnaire links to the respondents after asking to their permissions. In statistical treatment of data, the data that we've gathered from the respondents were thoroughly organized, examined, and analyzed by the researchers in order to formulate conclusions and recommendations from the gathered data. That was all for the research methodology. Thank you.
Presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. This chapter presents, expounds, and interprets the data gathered through the answers of the respondents on the research questionnaires. And we have chosen 100 students as our respondents. As we can see here at the table 1, that the profile of the senior high school students are being classified depending on their age and gender. The age of the students are divided into 2, the 16 to 17 years old age group and the 18 to 20 years old age group. We can find that there are 46 respondents in the 16 to 17 age group and 54 respondents on the 18 to 20 age group. with a percentage of 46 and 54 respectively. In terms of gender, the study revealed an equal size for male and female. Next slide. Table 2, level of self-care among senior high school students in terms of emotional, physical, and psychological aspects. The result reveals a moderate degree rating, while a spiritual aspect is a high degree rating. Next slide. Table 3, the summary profile and the significant differences in the level of self-care among senior high school students in terms of age and gender. Here we can find that there is a significant difference in terms of significant difference shown in the level of self-care among students of different gender. Meanwhile, there is no significant difference in terms of age group. And that would be for our presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data.
On this chapter shows the summary of our findings, conclusions, and recommendations derived from the analysis and interpretation of the data gathered by the researchers of this study. So these are the key points from our findings. First, there was an equal size of male and female respondents. There were more respondents coming from the age group of 18 to 20 years old than the respondents coming from the age group of 16 to 17 years old. Second, the level of self-care among students in terms of spiritual got a high degree rating. Meanwhile, the level of self-care in terms of emotional, physical, and psychological only got a moderate degree rating. Third on the list is that there is a significant difference on the level of self-care among students in terms of gender. Meanwhile, there is no significant difference in terms of the given age group. Lastly, it can be elucidated that the self-care among senior high school students of St. Joseph College have a high degree of spiritual level and a moderate degree on emotional, physical, and psychological level. So based on the outcome of our study, the researchers came to a conclusion that there is a significant difference on the level of self-care among students in the terms of gender. Meanwhile, the results signify no difference in the given age group. Hence, the researchers conclude that the level of self-care among senior high school students differs upon one's gender. So the following recommendations were based in our findings, and that can be found in page 26 of our paper. First is to identify more demographic profile of the respondents aside from age and gender to determine how significant the differences of the level of self-care in terms of those demographic profiles. Second, studies of the same concept should be done with a larger sample for the study to have a wider scope and to have a more generalized perspective on the level of self-care among senior high school students of St. Joseph College. Third, parents, teachers, and students must eliminate gender expectations in order to reconstruct self-care and its equal essence to each gender. Then, impart extensive knowledge and experiences on taking care of oneself to students. Lastly, similar studies in the future should provide different intervention programs for progress and effectiveness of one's self-care and being. That would be all for our summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations.
For the last part of our presentation is the output of the study entitled Accentuating Different Self-Care Indicators, a webinar for the senior high school students of St. Joseph College. So the goal of this activity is to give students extensive knowledge on the different self-care indicators, its importance, how it can be done, and how this knowledge may contribute to one's progress, both as an individual and as a student. So we have based our output of the study. It can be found on chapter 4 under the findings, number 4. It states there that it can be elucidated that there is a high degree of self-care in terms of the spiritual self-care. However, there is only a moderate degree rating on the level of self-care on the remaining indicators, namely the psychological, physical, and emotional. This is why we have made this output of the study, the accentuating different self-care indicators, in order to to give the students further information and more important knowledge, and unearth extensive knowledge on the different self-care indicators that we hope that would help in improving one's level of self-care and full potential. That would be all for our presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Good afternoon for the last group, Group 5, headed by Ms. Baldos. Now, to reiterate the content of your research, it's all about self-care. Now, I have read the rationale of your study, and diba you were told that you have to highlight the research gap. My question is this self-care or the problem on self-care is evident in the senior high school for you to come up with such research?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, Actually, we wanted, sorry. Actually, dapat unta, di ba, mas nindot if ang ABM student kanang connected. It would be more practical if we would make a research about something connected to business, something that is with our strengths. However, we have created we found self-care a much more timely topic because we started making our research year 2020, and during this year it was kanang the time nga taas sa kadyo ang cases, and we were actually based on personal experience, and what we have experienced is that we were not actually living our lives. We were just focused on survival and what things should we do in order to avoid getting kanang matakdan ta sa virus. So even aside from that is self-care all sa mga students nga mga kaedad namo. Kanang we really find it so hard to kanang juggle everything, to take care of ourselves as well as be scared of the virus, and also daghana gihapon even though daghana nagdahitabo sa world kay naa gihapon tay daghana nga activities, and so we found it more murag mas para namo mas gusto may mohimo og research nga somehow sa among mga palibot kay bawmi nga makarelate pud me and mas mutatak si namo kaysa sa like mo kuan me about sa AVM.
Okay, so I understand your advocacy, Ms. Baldos, but the problem is you are conducting a research. Therefore, you have to research a problem. Oh, but the results show also that there is so-called moderate degree of their self-care. And in the explanation, somehow they have the average knowledge on how are they going to take care of themselves. So that's it. Aside from this, you have really to emphasize the research gap if you want to have it be revised, please do highlight the research gap. It's not that your personal experience kana siya. So might be you'll have to emphasize that the students, as per observation, they are neglecting their somehow like that. Now, when I went through also your statement of the problem, you have your first SOP, that's profile. So I asked myself why do this group concern on how many males and females, and what who are those belonging to the age range 16 to 17, then 18 to 20. I realized then that you have compared the two. So kanina siya kay usaram nin to ka variable good level of self-care. So usually at least 2 variables do na siya kung mag-research. So what you did is nag-compare mo. Nag-comparison, sakto ko?
Yes, ma'am. At we wanted also to kanang differentiate sa ang level of self-care sa depende sa kung sa female o male para murag ma-identify pud unta namo ang unsay ngano man nga ay unsa man na mga factors ang nakakuan nganong maglahi man ang usa ka students murag kanang murag a way pod para ma-identify namo ang lahi-lahi nga level sa kada estudyante nga self-care.
So in terms of gender?
Yes, gender in terms of gender and age.
Which of the gender would take care much of themselves? Ang baji ba or ang laki? Is that so?
Kuan kung ang amo is kuan kung ang female kinsay mas kamao kinsay murag mas nagka-incorporate sa mga habits sa self-care better murag kung female ba or ang male o sana siya sa kuan.
And what about the age range? Is it really important for you to take the significant difference between the group, the age group of 16 to 17, then 18 to 20? Is it really important? Kay duol-duol ra ba sila edad? Kumbaga sa kuan pa na siya, kana na ang developmental stage. Murag naara siya sa usa ka stage, ma'am, no? Sa adolescent ba? Sa adolescent stage lang. So, early adolescence. So, murag there would be bias or something na ay glitch diha dapita. So, might be I do suggest you'll have to compare the male and female. But, you have to emphasize that in your rationale. Nga you are trying to, there is a called comparison between establishing the difference on the level of self-care between the male and the female. Then you'll have to justify what's the purpose of comparing the two. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so ang ako pong initial nga question is related ni sa kang Ma'am Beverly. Now, why is there a need to conduct for this study, and why is there a need for that particular output given that the results are good?
Kanang we found it not there is still a need to conduct the output of the study because I'm sorry. Kanang it is still important for us to have a more extensive knowledge because if ang among questionnaire is murag mga basic raman to siya, and if we do not practice these habits always, then it would be hard for us to kuan jud sa self-care nato, sir.
Okay, sige. With your respondents, no, you are targeting a grade 12 students, regardless of the strand they are enrolled into. Okay. Now, you were able to obtain 100 respondents out from how many?
600, sir.
600. Okay. So that constitutes 17% of the total population of the grade 12. Now, how are you going to convince us that this is a representative of the whole? Is 17% enough to be the representative of the 600? Or are we going to increase the number? Siguro, what I am looking is for a support on this, no? Kumbaga, a previous study that would justify that 17% is already a representative of that whole population.
Matulog ko, sir. Kanang, actually, we actually wanted to have a higher number of kanang respondents. However, during that time, kanang, when we were kuan, it was really hectic, and 100 participants was the only feasible na during that time, because kanang murag kuwang naman to nga kanang time ba, we don't have enough connections as well to kanang further kuan, because ang pagway na mo sa pagkuha sa mga respondents is through messaging class mayors, and murag amo siya ipasend pud sa kuan, so very random na siya. And during that time murag dili pod daghan kaadyo ang mo answer, kay daghanan naman sila na answeran pod, kay nagdungan na man mi og kuha sa data collection procedure. Mao to nga, although we would have loved to have a higher number of sample size, but during that time we thought it was really fun, which I regret also. That's
Okay, so naman si Ma'am Adele for the statistics nga concern kung representative na di man po ko kaadyo sure pod, pero to somehow represent, no, the whole population, kay 17% murag igamian ra ko. Okay. Wa magkahani ni ingon nga naay ning decline pareha sa ubang grupo. Mo nang ding 100 na laman eh.
Wala, sir, kanang kuan siya. Murag di ka makaingon na decline, kay murag ang pag-send out sa mga questions na mo, kay murag i-forward na siya ba. So kung kinsa ray makakita nga to sa mo ask me sa permission or mag-send me sa katong proposal na mo nga to, unja among ipakita, murag i-send ra kibali siya sa mayor, balik mo kan kanang good morning, pwede og ipanang ma-send ninyo sa kung kinsay willing nga mo kuan, and then mahuwat ra mi if abot na ba siya sa among kuan nga sample size.
Okay. Now with that, ang duration man di ay pod sa inyong the waiting period. Unsa ra man di ay pod ka kuana? What if an additional 100 of the students have responded? Kintahay karon inyong gi-stop jud. What if naapatoy mga ning answer for the next days, and then mga 200 ay ito?
Like if ever mo na hitabo.
Are there naabak
kuan, amo unta siyang i-change na mo siya ang among scope and delimitation, kay sayang man if di na mo apilon sa
malagi. Nahitabo na nga case.
Sir?
Nahitabo na siya nga case nga based sa inyong communication with the class mayors nga napabakahay ning habol og answer.
Kuan, sir, kanang murag naatoy murag nakabantay pag-check na ho ning murag ning 108. However, napasa na namo ang among kanang nagpa-statistician malagi mi, sir. Napasa naman namo og una ang katong kuan pagkita namo nga ay niabot na siya og 100 na ingana. Mao to nga pagkita namo ingato, wala na mo siya. Murag di na namo maikog naman mi kay daghana man pud og nagkuan ingato na statistician namo.
Okay. Somewhat murag nag-quota na laman siguro ni. Sakto ba, ma'am? Ang quota sampling no nga. Regardless basta kay mo abot mi og 100, okay na. That is not random, but a quota sampling would be appropriate. Okay. Na maora sa ito kay ang sana ang output is kaadyo ko kuan kay the results are good, and nganong magkuan pamantaan ning output.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, Group 5. So, murag, ingani jud ang hitabo, no? Kay I noticed nga murag, delayed jud mo nag-conduct sa inyong study. No, I have noticed that. Kay, you have your proposal during the second sem of when you were still in grade 11. So, kung ato jud tanawon, you have enough time to gather jud unta og data but maybe you just also nag-procrastination, procrastination telephone mo. Okay, so I just would like to ask the group, why did you, kanang kay, ug tan-awon magunaw ang inyong data sa table 2 ninyo, inyong gi per kay area, ang inyong self-care. And then pag test ninyo sa difference, you take self-care as a whole. So, murabag sayang ang inyong data. Did you try or have you requested for your statistician nga per key area ang pag-test kung difference ba ang nabay difference sa kanang self-care in terms of emotional sa male o female kay ato ra ba jung kuan kay mas more emotional ang girls kaysa boys or male sa kaysa female. Then in terms of spiritual pod mas hingajion ang baji kaysa laki. And then in terms of physical, murag mas physical ang laki kaysa baji. So I was wondering, nganong gi-area pa man ninyo kung pag correlate ninyo, wa naman ninyo giusa naman. So murag, I would like to suggest unta nga inyo unta tong gi per area na lamang pud kay sayang ba ang inyong data da pag present ninyo there is table data table to per area man. Nindot although nindot na noon ang result. Ora po to akong kuan nga sayang, you should have maximize your data. And then sa age group po na notice po na ho nga there would really be some sort of bias. Mas daghan jud ang sa 18, 19 and 20 because 18, 19, 20 three age group no kaysa 16, 17 duha ra. So it is expected really nga mas daghan jud ang mabilong sa 18 to 20. Nganong wa man ninyo gi-balance? 16, 17, 18. 19, 20, 21 ang dato. Or 15, 16, 17, 18, 18, 19, 20. Bitaw.
Mga to ang usapod sa regret while kanang nag-continue ko sa kuan. I should have, instead of using age, I should have instead, para mas ma-differentiate na mas better siguro if ang like siyan sa students because murag awahin na jud na realize nga duol ra ang age group, duol ra kaadyo ang age groups since senior high school man ang akong gi-focusan nga kuan.
Okay, so good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So, murag kuan na jud nino kay last. Self-care. Pagbasa na ko kaganina, self-care among seniors, senior high school student, and as I also examined that you consider the profile of the students or the respondents, especially the gender or the sex, no? Ang nitatak sa akong hunahuna is I thought that this study is more on the gender and development component, no? Kay yes kanang kay gitanaw man ninyo ang difference between male and female. Pero murag lahi man di ay. So una, I would like to comment sa katong inyong number of respondents. If you have observed kaganinang morning dinhay nagpresent. In fact, naa sila formula nga gisunod and the sample size was 120. Pero di jud to mao ang ilang sample size, no? Kay ila pa man jud tong gi-divide into 2. No? So that means kadto pa lamang daan 100 is not enough to represent the population. And take note also, so dili lang sa inyo ha, in the future, but also for the future researcher nga naa dinhiya, grade 11. Ang inyong respondents are all grade 12. And you only focused on the St. Joseph College, right? And kung atong tanawon, you have all the access, or you can access all the names of the senior high school enrolled in SJC, if you want. Kay nga naman, ang inyo mangong reason why maura na nga number of students is kanang nakigkuan rami nga mo answer willingly. But if we look at on the probabilistic way of doing research and surveys, supposedly, the first thing you have to identify is your population. You have identified that your population is the senior high school grade 12 St. Joseph College student. No? Much as well, naamoy listahan or mangita mo sa listahan. In that way, you can identify who will be your respondent. Kana ba jud ang probabilistic? Nga kung mayroon kag systematic based on the list of all the students, senior high school grade 12 students, systematic, you have the K or the kanang number, desired number nga mag-system ka. For example, every 10th student, you will select until you come up the number of samples based on your computation. So kung na-identify na ninyo ang ngan, I think all of you here, senior high school, grade 11 and 12, naana ni sila yung mga Facebook o Messenger. No? So dili na lisod ang pag-gather sa data, labi na kay nga ni kagamay nga, kanang naay questions ang inyong gatheron. Just nga makita ninyo or mahatag ninyo ang eksakto or naamoy letter of consent, no? Nga approve. Once it is approved by the head or your advisor, di po ko ka-think nga mobalibad ang estudyante. Nga kumingon ka nga, you are being chosen as our respondent based on the list of students enrolled in St. Joseph. Kaya di man sila makadinay nga student sila. That is the better way. Kay para naagad tayo representation sa tanan. Kay kawang ang atong conduct og research kung dili nato ma-consider kani nga mga factors. No? So, mora to siya akong i-comment as kanang sa labi na sa uban no in the future. Magamit gahapon ninyo kung muadto mo sa college. And katong giingon ni Ma'am Melodina nga much better if you present your result based on the core or the key indicator, no? And ang pag-present ninyo sa table, kay inyo namang difference between compare between male and female. So, dapat one column for male, one column for female, and the variables of the study in the row. Para makita nato if there is a difference or not. No? So, much as pwede rin ninyo i-delete or wag tango na ang comparison between age group kay wa may silbi. No? I thought manggod nga inyong ikuhaon ang relationship kung naaba si Jai, relationship between age and kanang naay level of or scale of kuan kanang naay self-care nya dili man pud ay. So tanggalon na lang. No. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Group 5, thank you. You may now go back to your seats. All right, so I would like to request the following participants to please stand up once again, beginning with Group 1. Please stand up. Group 2. Group 3. Group 4. And the last group that presented earlier, Group 5. Okay, I know how it feels to be put on a hot seat, and probably if we just have like microscopic eyes, we could see how, how you perspire or sweat a lot. Because you did a very good job today, we would like to give you congratulatory claps. Everybody, let's give them a big hand, please. Okay, very good, very good. I know that you really went through the fire, the eye of the needle, but you did it very well. You may take down your seats now. Thank you. And of course, the tormentors, we would like to give them also recognition once again. So may I request all the panelists to please stand up. The ones who tormented the students. Let's give them a big hand, please. Thank you. Okay, so Ma'am Adelpha, Sir Jonathan, Ma'am Doc Denden, and Doc Bebs. Okay? At this point, we would like to call once again Shami Geraldo for her intermission number.
Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power, yeah. Some people live just to play the games. Some people think that the physical things define of what's within. And I've been there before, but that's life's a bore, so full but superficial. Some people I know, but I don't know nothing at all. If I ain't got you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people search for a fountain, the promises forever young. Some people need 3,000 roses, but that's not everything that you want me there. Hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be? And with no one to stare, with no one who truly cares for me. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. Think of you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people wait on, but I don't want nothing at all. And I got you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you.
Wow, thank you so much, Miss Shami Geraldo of grade 12 STEM B. Okay, so presenters, are you all excited to know who the winner is for this year's forum? Remember, the paper of the winner will be published internationally. But before we announce the winners, can I have silence for a while from the audience? Thank you. Okay, so we would be giving recognition to the panelists by giving them a plaque. And this is how the citation reads. St. Joseph College, Maasin, Southern Leyte, Maasin City, Southern Leyte's Senior High School Department plaque of appreciation is hereby given to, for sharing her or his valuable time and expertise in the field of research, which contributes to the success of the Research Forum this year, 2022. Given this 22nd day of April, 2022 at OLAP Center, Maasin City. Signed by Dr. Almira L. Miras, Research Coordinator, and Dr. Joanne L. Costillas, Senior High School Principal. So to give the plaque of appreciation, may I request our very dynamic Senior High School Principal, Dr. John Costillas, to be assisted by our English Coordinator, Miss Villa Rose Magica Cerrito. First, let's award this plaque of appreciation to Dr. Beverly B. Fernandez. Okay, next we have Doc Bems. Please stay at the center for the group picture taking later. Okay, next we have Mrs. Adelpha Diola. Then we have Dr. Melodina L. De La Cruz. And the last, but certainly not the least, Mr. Jonathan J. Palco. We would like to request all the panelists to please go back to the center for a group picture taking. Thank you very much once again to our dear panelists, and we look forward to seeing you again on our next year's research forum, okay? And the moment of truth that we all have been waiting for, to know the best presenter and the best paper for this year's forum. Again, 2 years ago, the winners came from ABM strand. Let's find out if it's gonna be the same. Will it be ABM? Or will it be UMS? Or will it be STEM students? And to do the honor, I'd like to call in the chairman of the panel, Dr. Beverly Fernandez, to announce the winners. Not yet. By the way, those who are streaming this forum, please don't forget to, take down important notes, because this will help you when you go to, especially grade 11, this will help you when you go to grade 12. You will be undergoing the same experience, especially if next school year, excuse me. Okay, thank you. I know you're too excited, but just keep it for a little while. Okay, because you're gonna be using this when you go to grade 12, especially that next school year, I think there is gonna be a full blast of face-to-face class. Also, the fourth year college students, this will help you a lot. Because even the teachers inside, Ma'am April, Ma'am Noreen, Sir Jason, right? Soon you will have to defend your paper. Okay? For you to become, a degree, holder of postgraduate studies. Good luck to all of you. All right? And by the way, guys, later on, for the closing remarks, instead of Dr. Almi delivering it to us, she couldn't make it for a business trip, okay? So instead, somebody will read her message for all of us. Okay, Sir Ram, are the results now ready? All right, once again, to proclaim the winners for Best Presenter and Best Paper for this year's Research Forum, let's have Dr. Beverly Fernandez. And the medals and then the certificate will be handed by Ma'am Joanne again, and then Ma'am Magica. Okay.
Good afternoon once again, and before I have to announce the best group presenter and the best paper, allow me to congratulate all of the groups for coming up such a very substantial research. Kung sa Tagalog pa na, malayo talaga ang mararating nyo. Congratulations, big hands. Okay, so we are really forced to choose only one group to be announced as the best group presenter. So medyo na ay nag-tie duha, but to tie the breaker, we ask your school principal kung kinsa sa nag-tie. Okay, so the best group presenter. Why sounds na do-do-do-do-do-do? Why sounds? Kinapinatrili nga sounds. Again, the best group presenter. Wala talaga. Goes to the group 5, Miss Baldo's group. Congratulations. May I request to group members? Okay. Okay, so once again, congratulations to the best group presenter. Now, what about for the best paper? So I was tasked to rank down. Are you ready? pwede na kumusulti? Okay, so for the fourth runner-up, we have the group 4. May I request the group 4 to come up in front? Group 4. Take note that you are all winners from the 72 groups. So emerge only 5. So top 5 winners na mo. With their coach, Ma'am Mahika. Si Ma'am Ramos de ay. So I stand corrected. Congratulations. And for the third runner-up goes to Group 5. Group 5, please. With their coach, Sir Jason. And for the third spot, the second runner-up goes to the Group 1. Group 1. Okay, so for the first runner-up goes to the Group 2, and for the best paper for this Research Forum 2022, it's the Group 3. Congratulations.
Exempted. Exempted. And once again, this year's best paper goes to group number 3. Their paper will be published internationally. Okay? Once again, to acknowledge their paper, Group 3 has the research paper titled Unleashing the Agony of Depression, a Key to Healing. Congratulations, because you are not depressed anymore. No more depression, guys. Your hard nights and days had been paid off. Congratulations to the group of Alagao. Okay. Panelists, please join the winners. Remember, Group 3, your paper is now copyrighted. So once it gets published internationally, you'll start earning. Can I join? So once again, what you can see on the LED screen is the Group 3 whose paper won this year's forum, research forum. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet because the program isn't over. Okay, so as I said earlier, instead of Ma'am Almi reading or delivering her closing remarks, unfortunately she couldn't make it today because she's on a business trip. Actually, she actually, received an award for the, what's this? I think it's health, yeah, all right. So that's the reason why she couldn't make it today. But anyway, she has a message for all of you, all right? So everybody listen. This is the message of Ma'am Almi to all of us, and I read. My respect to our very supportive principal, fellow teachers, students, parents, to our live audience watching right now, a pleasant afternoon. These closing remarks may signal an end to this very momentous activity. Yet, as the famous saying goes, an end marks a new beginning. So this means that after these series of activities we undertake in research, a new chapter is about to unfold as you embark to another challenging world in your college life. We hope that the department was able to give each one of us as much learning as we want to maintain excellence, which St. Joseph College is known for. For the grade 11 students, I hope that this activity opened your minds in the relevance of research, not only for you, of knowledge, but for your personal growth as well. You will be the next to experience the hype of the research forum next school year. Before I end, allow me to thank the important people behind the success of this program. To our principal, who doesn't say no to any worthwhile activity for the department. Thank you, ma'am. The practical research and inquiry teachers who were there during the planning, conceptualization, and execution. To our presenters who accepted the challenge of presenting their papers. to our esteemed panel of judges who did not say no when we requested their precious time, to our SJC media partner, Sir RM, sound system technicians, caterers, grade 11 research leaders, grade 12 class mayors, PTA officers, and parents who supported our department's activities. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. Above all, to God who showered us all the blessings for our department. Again, thank you everyone and good afternoon. End of quote. So let's give Ma'am Almi, although she's not here physically, but I think she's on call and she could hear us. Okay, everybody say, Ma'am Almi, thank you. All right. Okay. So that ends our research forum for this year, school year 2021 and 2022. This has been your host, Sir Mel Narona, saying, God bless us all and see you again next school year's research forum. Bye-bye. God bless us all.